Good morning, friends and family. Thanks for stopping by. I thought I'd show you the progress on the railing and also the progress on the fireplace today. Then afterwards, we'll go hike in the woods and we'll work on building an additional maintenance trail to the one that we've built already. We plan on building a lot of maintenance trails in there because we're planning on putting the woods into the forest management program. And as we're going through the trail, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. So come on, let's take a look at the railing and then the hearth, and then we'll go hike the trail. This is oak wood and we had it stained, and then we have the two spindles in here, and this won't stay here, it goes up here. They were waiting for the stain to dry before pushing this up and pushing these down here. And then the two deer panels, one will go here and the other one will go over in here. And then for the fireplace, we had this, we installed this ourselves during the night in the dark. We got this piece of wood from a local farmer, and it's black walnut. And then Luke also had put this extra piece on here for these brackets. And then we spray painted them this gray color to match the kind of look that we're going for. And then this is the TV mount, and we spray painted it black because our stone that's going in is black, so when the TV comes out, we don't want it to have a white color. We just wanted it to blend in. And then for the hearth, this is a steel gray, and the edging is called chiseled. And then the texture on it is not it's smooth, but it's called leathered. Of it, her steel gray leathered. So I think that's gonna be really nice. And so now we're just waiting for the stone to come in for that. It is windy. Maybe when we get further into the woods, it won't be as windy.
Out there first, or do you want to go down there and start by the creek and work with that?
We can go that way.
Which way?
That way. Because I haven't gone that way yet. We're using this pink ribbon to mark the trail. This will help us identify the trail direction when we come back with the equipment. Our plan is to use the tractor with the brush mower attachment to clear all the brush. Then we will use the chainsaw to clear any large brush and any dead trees that are in the path. When marking our trails, our goal is to try to go with the flow of the land, and we want to avoid cutting down any healthy trees. Therefore, the idea is to pick openings with trees far apart enough from each other that allows the maintenance equipment and the UTV to get past. Another item we must think about is the turning radius on the machines and the equipment. We have to make sure that when we are creating a turn in the trail, that the equipment can make the turn without hitting any of the trees. So we're looking for a good spot with not many trees to make that turn. We also want to preserve the trees as much as we can, and as well as keeping all of our equipment in good shape for as long as possible. You can see here all these deer tracks. There's a lot of deer that come through these woods. We have a large population of deer, and it's actually overrunning all this forest, and the deer eat a lot of the saplings. So there's not many young trees, and most of the brush that you can see on the ground is an invasive species, such as the honeysuckle. Now, I've mentioned before that we're planning on creating a healthy forest. So we are in the process of researching different programs and finding the best one that will fit our needs and solve problems that we are facing with this land. So we've identified issues that we're trying to solve. The first is, like I mentioned, there are many invasive species in this woods that are not native to the area, and we're going to need to plan to get rid of them. Because of the acreage being so large, we know this is going to be an ongoing process. We will have to pick a section each year to remove the invasive species from that area. And also, we're going to have a plan to continue to mitigate the risk of them growing back. The second issue is the forest is split between a young forest and a mature older forest. Right now, we're actually in the younger forest, and there's not a lot of hardwoods in this area either. So we're going to want to build this up with a more variety of trees as well. And we want to get a variety of age differences of the trees. And then in the section that has the old oak trees, there are no young saplings. So there's no variety. When that forest gets so old and they die or they need to come down, there's no other trees to then take their spot. So what we're going to need to do is to remove a selection of older trees, and the forester is going to come out and help us with that, and he'll pick which trees will get removed. So we're not picking trees that really should stay to help the forest stay healthy. And then according to the forester, we'll need to plant so many trees that will overwhelm the deer, because what's happening is the deer are eating any of the saplings, and also the canopy of the older trees is stopping that younger growth from coming in. And then the third issue we have is that there's large parts of this forest within it that have really big bare spots, and we'll need to buy as many saplings as possible to fill those gaps so that way we can expand the forest. The issue is that trees are really expensive, and we're going to need to plant a lot of trees. We really want to get as many trees as we possibly can that our budget allows. So what we are looking for is a program or a combination of programs that will hopefully solve all these problems. If you are looking to do a program like this for your land, you'll want to reach out to a local forester and your local district conservationist. These programs need to be applied for, and it's not a guarantee that the application will be accepted. The competitiveness will depend on the funds available and the number of applicants. What we have found so far is that not all the land that we have will qualify for one program. It will need to be a combination of programs. This makes it a little more complicated because there's different times when these can be applied for and different qualifications, which it's looking like it might be different ones that we will need. First, the existing timber that we have would qualify to be put into a forest management program. The remaining land would not qualify for this. With this program, a written plan is required for the development and maintenance of the woods so that it becomes a healthy, productive forest. This would include invasive control, thinning, and crop tree release. This is not something that we can do on our own, so either the conservationist or the forester will be creating this for us. This program would fix our first and second issue I mentioned, which is diversifying the age of the trees and removing the invasive species. Our third issue was the barren spots that are within the forest. And for this, we're looking at the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. It's called EQIP for short. This has a cost share on planting trees in prairies. We're most interested in planting trees to create a larger forest span, so this seems like a good fit to solve that third issue. The trail we're marking right now is only the southeast section of the property. There's still more trail that we need to mark in the future. This is going to be years of development and, of course, continuous maintenance. I think it's going to make us stay pretty active for a long time. We are basically going to be the stewards of this forest and watching over it. After he gets done putting the ribbon on this tree, I'm going to go ahead and head down to the southernmost part of the property where the fence line is, and I'll let him know how far that is because we want to try to get the trail to go towards the fence line as much as possible, but not up against the fence line. And there's still a lot of deer tracks. Like I said, it's just so overpopulated with deer. And our neighbor does hunt, and we let him go ahead and hunt on the property, but he didn't get anything this year, which is too bad because I'm sure he would have shared some of the deer with us. You know, I'm really amazed at how quiet it is because we are close to a very busy road, but I can't hear it at all. I can only hear the crunching of the snow underneath my boots. The birds are whistling overhead in the tree branches. I can hear the branches scraping against my jacket, but that's really about it. That's all I can hear. And here's the fence line. It's hard to see, but it's barbed wire. And it runs along the... Oh, and this is honeysuckle. This is a very overgrown honeysuckle that I just touched.
I'm at the fence line.
And here's the fence line. Some of this was on our property when we were cutting the other trail, and it was just really difficult to work with. It's rusted, it's sharp. And here, this is kind of neat. The tree has grown around the barbed wire. The barbed wire was next to it and just kind of grew into it. It's interesting how that happens. Oh, I have a story about this. There's something I didn't mention about that mantle. That mantle was a raw piece of wood when we got it from the farmer. We then took it to a local furniture refinishing shop. They make furniture, they refinish it, and they also do very intricate woodwork. And they were the ones that stained it. They were really super excited about it. So they couldn't wait to show us the staining on it, and I think it looks beautiful. And you know that a local mom and pop shop is going to put in their 100% and put their love into every item. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm getting off on a tangent. So when we were researching who we would like to do the mantle piece, there was another individual who specifically specialized in barnwood, and that walnut was not barnwood. So that's why we didn't go with him. But he told us a really interesting story. He was cutting into some old wood, and he came across his saw hit a piece of metal, and it actually happened to be a horseshoe. And he was talking to a local farmer about how, I can't believe there was a horseshoe in this huge tree that I was cutting through. And the farmer said, well, it makes sense to me why there would be a horseshoe in the tree. And he was like, how does that make sense? And so the farmer said, well, back in the day when the horses were the ones pulling the plow, if the horse threw a shoe, and I don't have horses, so I think that's how it was said. If the horse throws a shoe, then you go pick it up, and you're not going to just throw it into the field. You're going to go to the side of the field, and you're going to take the horseshoe, and you're going to put it into the crotch of the tree where those branches connect, and you're going to leave it there, and you're going to think you're going to come back. But what if you forget to come back? Then the tree grows around that horseshoe, and it becomes within the tree. And so that's how that happened. So that, I thought that was a pretty interesting story. It's always interesting to look at all those pictures of all the different things that the trees grow around, and they're just so resilient. And so the shape of the trail that we're trying to make is almost kind of like a bean shape. There's a lot of trees over here. Seems like no matter which way you go, you're going to have to cut down something. That's nifty.
That was amazing.
We've been told that this part of the younger forest that we're in used to be part of a tree farm. And I'm noticing that a lot of the trees look like those ornamental crabapple type trees that people like to put in their front yards for landscaping. So I'm thinking that's what a lot of these trees are. And I think that's another reason why there's just so many birds over here. They must be eating these little crab apples off of these trees, which I'm surprised because I just think they wouldn't be good anymore now that it's the winter. But it probably just doesn't affect birds the way it affects us. I guess something I need to look into. So we're getting closer to the creek. It'll be neat to see it. I haven't seen it yet in the winter time, and it should be frozen over.
All of a sudden I felt like we're in the labyrinth and somebody's going to move my lipstick marker.
I hope not. I don't know if you heard Luke just now, but he said, all of a sudden, I feel like I'm in the labyrinth and someone's gonna move my lipstick markers. A nice older tree. And all I can say is I really hope not, because if our markers are moved when we're coming our way back, then all I can think is that the forest has ghosts in it. Otherwise, I have no idea why else they would get moved. So I really hope that those markers stay where they're at until we start clearing the path.
Maybe we should take a break and go start from the other end and head back up here.
Are we going to be able to find this end?
Just in the corner, isn't it?
Sure.
I don't know where we want to come out down there.
Okay.
We potentially could swoop back up through the center and sneak back down. I'll draw a picture. It could look like that.
Well, let's go down there and see where we want to come out. Oh, there's turkey to your right. I don't know if they were on this side, but it looked like they just kind of hopped over the river, or the creek, I mean.
So I plan on coming through there and into here. So whether we go up from here or do we keep going this way? wall or is it a stone?
Does look like you could ice skate on it.
Yeah. I do want to come all the way over here.
Now that we've gotten to the creek, we're turning around and we're going to start marking the path leading all the way back up to where we left off. And we're at the southernmost edge of the property again. There's a deer stand right there. We've noticed that there's a lot of deer stands on the property, which we're not really surprised with all the deer that we have. They have some nice pine trees over on their side. We don't have any pine trees on the property. That's one of our mini goals, as getting lots of pine trees mixed in with these, or getting at least an area with a pine tree forest.
I think I'm gonna end up just go out there and swing back over there.
Okay. Like a bean shape. We're nearly to the finish line. This maybe took us about 2 hours. So as we come to a close, I want to say, as always, thank you for joining us on our adventure. That's the reason why I started doing these vlogs, is to record our adventures, because I wasn't recording them in the beginning, and there's just all these details, and I know I'm missing details now, but I'm getting more of them, so that way when I look back I can remember those details and remember our adventures. And I want to say thank you for joining me on this adventure and learning more about the forest and going out here in 20-degree weather with our snowmobile boots and snowmobile bibs on, and our hats and gloves and those little hand warmers. Those are just things that I would just remember it was cold, but I wouldn't remember it's colder than cold. It's 20 degrees, but at the same time it's sunny. So I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I look forward to you joining me on our next adventure.